Professor Hussein is a current rector, a renowned civil and water engineer. You have architects, you have everybody there. I mean, so I do not see that the problem is whether they have been given portfolio or not. That does not matter. Okay. They will be given as a matter of this. Let's focus on who has been selected and what they are likely to do with this kind of star-studded cabinet. What the government requires is good to go. The government is good to go. But we have where we are now in Nigeria. There's a lot of negatives arising from the removal of fuel subsidy. And this is what they are supposed to do. We need creative ministers. We need people who think out of the box to be able to get us out of the mess that we are now.
So, Mr. Nepo, do you share the same view on this portfolio matter?
Well, let's even start by the statement of having a star-studded team. You see, we can't continue this process of recycling men and women who did not have any stellar performance when they were in office. Just take the example. Wike was minister under Jonathan. Thereafter, he became governor. El Rufai was minister under Obasanjo. Thereafter, he became governor. And you are bringing them back to become ministers. Is it that there is no more person in these states who could be tapped to come and offer service? You look at people who have already been elected senators, members of the House, you go and drag them out so that there'll be a vacancy there, you start talking of another election. What are the special qualities in these men and women, why they deserve to be taken away from the legislature, where they intended to go and to be made ministers? Now, on the issue of portfolio, I think we should have gotten to the stage in Nigeria where people should talk with some measure of, experience. If I'm good, I'm not good in space travel. I've never been there. I don't know anything about it. I could be good to make suggestions about reforming the Ministry of Justice. I could tell you a few things about, even though I'm not a doctor, Ministry of Health, Agriculture. But it is important that you want to make Ezonyebere a minister. Put it there that you want to make me Minister for Agriculture. So that what is the idea of screening? You are screening me to go and recite the national pledge or national anthem. Or you are screening me and ask me who is the current governor of Jigawa State. How does that relate to the portfolio I'm taking? So even beyond screening in the Senate and wherever, Nigerians ought to be screening through public opinion. Those persons, in terms of, I could have been saying, I know this man that is going to be Minister of Agriculture. I don't think, or he's super fit for it. So if you simply ask people, at some point, some of them will be asked to take a bow. Mark it somewhere. Some of these people who have been ministers, they have been A, B, C, D, most of these people will not even be able to look them in the face.
But we know that ministers really qualify for taking a bow. It's usually the former lawmakers. I mean, and there are quite a significant number of them on this list. Former lawmakers. I think it's about 6 or 7 or so.
Good. So
former lawmakers.
Why would they even take a bow?
Even current lawmakers.
Because even the challenges Nigeria faces today, it's not the challenge of the Obasanjo days. It's not even the challenge of the era of the last president. Most of these issues that are coming out of the removal of fuel subsidy or unification of the exchange rate, they are novel things that you need to understand who exactly appreciates the issues and going forward. So that portfolio should have been attached so that the senators can ask appropriate questions and Nigerians like
Mr. Agbaja thinks that the reason why that is not done is, look, if the president can change his mind, saying, you know what, I didn't know some information about this person, so I think let's move him to this place. So he says if they attack those portfolios and then they go for screening and he changes his mind, is he going to send him back to screening?
No.
That's his explanation for that.
The president should get to the stage where he makes up his mind after evaluating a particular candidate. I'm sure there will be security reports, there will be all kinds of reports he will get about any individual. He says, I want this person as a minister. And by the time he considers all these reports, he now makes up his mind, say, you go to Ministry X. So the screening must be in a context. Otherwise, you will be screening people at large. Nothing exactly in terms of concrete questions. And something came up. They're saying they may create new ministries. And here we are shouting about the cost of governance. Is it that they're going to merge existing ministries or that they are going to add to the numbers that we have? If it is addition to the numbers we have, then there's a huge challenge. We are rather increasing the costs rather than, reducing the cost of governance. And then also the issue of 7 women. I mean, the demand is a minimum of 35%. Okay, what we have now is about 25%. And we should also be sure that those people will be given opportunity to run concrete ministries. I mean, saw the debate that came out about Minister of State, whether it's constitutionally recognized or not. Even though you talk about that all ministries are equal, there are A-list ministries. There are ministries that look a bit more weighty than others in terms of their impact on society and the economy as a whole.
Well, this is 28 names. Obviously, the constitutional requirement of 1 minister per state has not been met. And we've seen that even some states already have 2 names to them. So people are already saying, is it possible that the president might want to adopt the 42 names list, or is it going to be 36 names? But at the minimum, we know that the president must have 36 ministers, 1 from each state. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that it would seem that this is batch 1, so it's not like NYC list. Batch A, stream B.
So if some states are already getting 2, you can be sure it's going to be more than 36. And then it may even be more than 42 we've had before. Probably a good number of states may end up getting 2, and that's why the idea of new ministries is coming up. And so, like I said, it will increase the cost of governance. I would have said, focus more on quality. The cadre of people who are coming in as ministers than the numbers. Yes, there are a few of these ministers anybody can say, okay, we are thinking this person is likely going to health. He's almost headhunted. He was somewhere. He even refused the opportunity to roll over his appointment, hoping that maybe he will come to Nigeria. Yes, we can identify 1, 2, 3, but a good number of them are the usual. Mr.
Onyekpere, some people will disagree with you because you have pointed out 3 names from when you talk about usual, when you talked about people being recycled. From the examples that you gave, you mentioned Nyesom Wike, Nasir El-Rufai, and made reference to Dave Umahi, who is currently a senator.
And the former governor of Jigawa State,
so that's about 4 of them who are the 4 governors. And then the other names who you also referred to, I mean, the people who had appointments outside of this country, very good appointments at that, and we're doing very well in their field, maybe about another 3 or 4. So if we're at discountenancing this list based on the 4 whom you've mentioned, why can't we also give the list kudos based on this other list?
You cannot give kudos. What I pointed out also could possibly be 2, 3, or 4 persons, okay, who fall into that category. But
how well do we know that?
Hold on. The bulk of the others are unproven. All right? We are all living in Nigeria. You know very good lawyers, doctors, engineers, people who have proven themselves because you belong to the media in a number of competencies, in a number of places they've been before. You see, at this level, you don't become a minister to learn on the job. At the kind of hardship Nigerians are going through, you must have proven yourself somewhere, not simply because you were a good party man, not simply because you held the election campaign. Yes, these are very good qualities, but you must have proven yourself in bringing concrete solutions to real-life problems. And that is what we need now, whether it's in education, whether it is in health, whether it's in the terms of the economy, who is going to rein in the inflation, who is going to give us a naira, promise us that in the next 2 years, we may come back to maybe between 400 and 500 to the dollar. These are the kind of practical things we need. It's not just enough. Even professorship doesn't make so much sense these days. It's not just enough that you're a professor. It's not just enough that you're a practical man. And that's why I am saying, if you are going to be the Minister of Finance or in charge of the economy, I need need to hear you tell us that today is 790 or 800 to the dollar. What practical steps, short term, medium term, long term, so that we know what to hold you accountable for? You can tell us that it will be difficult, like we've said, in the next 6 months, but from the first quarter of next year, second quarter, we should begin to see the Naira appreciate. We could begin to see Nigeria refining petroleum products at home. Because you know the idea of, the old refineries will be revamped first quarter, it kept on dribbling us. So we need to see somebody in charge of petroleum resources and ask him straight to his face, do you know how functional the refineries are today? He says, yes, I know. What do you plan to do with them? Are you going to sell them off? Are you going to rehabilitate them? What is the timeline? Practical questions. It's no longer like you carry somebody like me now and dump me into to say, go and manage the refineries. What do I know about refineries? I could answer a few questions which you think are good, but that doesn't solve the problem.
Okay. Well, let's go to our guest who is on Zoom now. Prof, I was just going to ask you about some of the names we've seen so far. I mean, and this problem of portfolio, you have said it's much ado about nothing. But, this is criticism that has come every 4 years, especially when we have ministers, that, at some point, when we have service chiefs, we know that they're going to be, we already know what portfolio they're going to go, by the very appointment that is made. And, the screening is done accordingly. Why is it so difficult? Because we hear this every now and again that this will help the senators in their job of screening the ministerial nominees. Why is it so difficult to attach portfolios so that, a thorough job of where these people will be going will be clear?
Yes, I agree with you that I agree with the former speaker as well, that portfolios should have been included. It should have improved screening. It is what the difference we make in logic between sufficient and necessary. It is sufficient but not necessary condition. So, because in the United States system that we are copying, people are screened on the basis of the portfolio they are going. Then it's not done at once. That's just to answer the question about why this staggered. People go to Congress to be screened at different times. So, and appointments are made at different times. So I agree that portfolios will have helped, will have improved, enhanced screening. Let me make some very quick points about recycling. That is the nature of politics. If you don't want recycling, politicians are recycled. The president himself is a recycled person. Are you going to stop recycling? Then you don't have politics. Biden is 80.
Is it fair to say pardon me, Prof, is it right to say he's recycled because he was elected? If he was elected as president, isn't it different from when you now have to nominate people as ministers?
Yes, when you make people as ministers, what I'm pointing to you is that experience reinforces experience. That is the nature of administrative competence. You don't have to bring people new all the time. And you talk about cost of democracy. What is the acceptable cost? People just talk speculatively. What is the cost of democracy? Tell me what the cost. If democracy is expensive, try autocracy. The reality is that democracy in Nigeria is expensive because of corruption, because of waste. The kind of waste that you see, and I dare say, in Akpabio's convoy, going to work on his office and having dispatch riders and all that. What is that for? In the midst of this hardship that we are going, our leaders are not sensitive to our needs. They are better learn from what is going on in Niger, in Sahel. You have to be sensitive. You can't be showing off when people cannot even ride, are walking to work. In Lagos, traffic has dried up because people cannot afford to bring their cars on the road.
So, but Prof, is it out of place for people to say, when some say, look, we're cautious, probably cautiously optimistic maybe, because in this same country of ours, we've seen professors who were returning officers, and we saw how the elections also went. Some of them facing the law for manipulating elections. So if people say, well, we're cautious, we'll just wait to see the results, Is it out of place for people to have that kind of impression?
I didn't get what you are making about professors. Let me say that
not yourself, Prof. I mean, we know you. You've not been a returning officer. We're talking about professors who were returning officers for elections, and some of them facing the courts for manipulating results of elections. So when, Mr. Nyekwere also said, look, even professors too, you have to raise questions.
How many of them do you know? I mean, these generalizations are so common in Nigeria. A returning officer is not the one who brings results.
No, but Prof, there are professors who are before the law now for manipulating elections.
Let us not trivialize professorship, but like the other man says, it's not about professorship. It's about professorship. The professorship means something. If you are architect, if you are an engineer, it means that you have some qualification. So nobody should trivialize any other profession. That can a person sit down and say, for me, professors don't matter. Professor Patel is a professor of global health in Harvard. Who said
No. I don't think he said professors don't matter. If I understand this point, he says, look, that even professors too, he's not a professor of space science. If you don't know anything about that field, they can't put you in that field.
In any case, who is anybody to start judging when people, the performance, was Wike not a good governor? What can know was El-Rufai not a good governor? And if you bring that experience, I don't want them there.
I thought you just said a while ago that some of these governors need to be managed because they have the way they run their states.
But you are not the president. You are not the one who contested the election. You are not the one going to seek re-election. The president needs both the good and the bad. There's this debate in philosophy between Plato and Aristotle. Do we deal with intellectual technocrats or we deal with people with political sagacity? There is room for technocrats, there is room for politicians who will do the field work, the grassroots work for the president. The president has his eye on the future, on the present, and the past. It's a composite. You compensate people who work for you, you bring technocrats who will do the work now, and you also put politicians who will be doing grassroots work for your re-election. People must understand context before the comments.
All right, before we go to Mr. Nyekwere, quick one. So,
the practical thing is like all I'm hearing is politics from the other side. Nigerians are in dire straits. People are hungry.
As a professor of international politics.
People are hungry. People try to walk 10 kilometers a day. People are ill. They can't afford to pay the doctor or to buy medicine. So we are beyond looking at re-election when you have not even served your 4 years, when you are not even sure whether Nigeria will survive the 4 years, because the way things are, look around. I have some jitters around me. Look around countries around us. Push. People taking over power illegally, unconstitutionally. What are the indicators? What are the facts that led to this? Okay, what you have to understand is that things are so bad in Nigeria now. So the best thing is to, first of all, get the economy working, get the administration of justice working, get the bandits and the insurgents, throw them away and let people go back to the farms. When you finish doing this, then you can begin to talk of the election and the politics.
People will say that this will still be solved through politics. These problems which you have talked about will still be solved through politics. You talk about politics being the greatest good to the greatest number.
It's not about politics in the way we are discussing it.
Exactly.
It is about getting people who know what the issues are and can bring workable solutions, practical solutions to go and face these things, and not somebody who will be pontificating. Because let's even see it. These two governors who were mentioning, is it not in Kaduna State? Can we count the number of body bags? People that were lost in the last 4 years in Kaduna State. Is that an example of good governance? The kind of things that happened in Rivers State in terms of even the elections, everybody saw it beyond asking me to prove in a court of law tribunal. We are all Nigerians. Are we happy? Is that what we want replicated at the national level? Maybe going about with bands, singing? Is that Is that the level Nigeria is today, that somebody will be saying this?
We'll talk more about this when we return in just a moment. Stay on with us.
Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
That only comes from knowing you are fully sorted, to show up for you just when you need a hand. And when retirement comes with all its worries and storms, to ensure we will stand by you and give you the coverage that you deserve. Make the perfect choice. Choose PAL Pensions today.
PAL Pensions, your pal for life. Heartburn and indigestion? Try Just Eat. My recommendation for the past 26 years, Just Eat. Reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
Oh, I wish you were here.
I'm always with you.
But it's not the same without you.
MTN 5G's amazing technology will change how we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no be juju, na MTN 5G.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Professor Femi Otunbajo, Mr. Eze Oyekwe is still with us on the program as we analyze this ministerial nominees list. A total of 28 people on that list, 4 of them former governors, 7 women, that's 25% of that list. A good number of them with various forms of experience. So we're taking a look at it and the quantum of work ahead of them. And let me go to Mr. Oyekwe on this one. Just specifically speaking now, there's been so much said about that list, but I'd like to know, what is your main, would I say, grouse or issue with that list? Are there specific names that you expected to make that list that you're disappointed that they're not there, perhaps because of their track record and what they bring to bear? Are there names you would love to be expunged from that list? What are those names? Particularly if you could give the list a rating, for the 28 names we have so far, what would you rate that list so we can better, interrogate the issues?
I don't think it will be good for me to stand here and start calling specific names to say, expunge this or bring this one back. I'm not the president. The president has made his choice. But what I am saying is that the recycling part of it, I am not happy with it. Because there are other Nigerians who can be asked to come on board and contribute to the process of national development. Those who are already serving in the National Assembly, leave them there to continue, because what they plan to be are legislators. Then the other people who are simply politicians, we must interrogate what they bring to the table in terms of what special qualities, what problem-solving qualities are they bringing? Because this is not a period we could say, let's continue with business as usual. The country is in so much difficulty. Yes, I acknowledge a couple of people on that list who I can say they will be round pegs in round holes if where we're expecting them to be, that the president eventually assigns them there. But generally, close to 50% of the names on the list are just average names. And Nigeria does not require just average people these days because the challenges are quite extreme. And it's a matter of life and death for a good number of Nigerians, people who have to trek 10, 15 kilometers a day, people who have to go to bed hungry. So they need to be convinced that these people who are coming can really help solve their daily existential challenges.
So following up with that one, about maybe names that should have been there, would you, if you're in a position to advise opposition parties, I mean, we see a member of the PDP, or would I say the G5, former Governor Nyesom Wike, on that list. Do you think it's a good idea for opposition parties to also perhaps be a part if a hand of fellowship is stretched to them? And I'm talking the Labour Party, the mainstream PDP, if I could use that term. Would you think it's a good idea to have them on that list? Perhaps if you have people that bring on board very good skills, very good track record, do you think it would be a good idea to include them perhaps in batch B of that list?
Very well. In as much as one is a Nigerian and is amenable to working with the president, okay, and he has some good skills and qualities that he's bringing on the table, I think the president should go across party lines and select them. Even the idea of headhunting. Go outside Nigeria, see Nigerians who are doing very well, who can help us solve the problem, bring them. It is not about political parties. Elections should be over by now. Nigerians are looking forward to solutions of their problems. If you recall, even during the Obasanjo era, the first time he came on board, 99, he had to, take ministers from across the aisle.
Right.
He didn't restrict it to his own political party alone because the whole idea was to get Nigeria together and then begin to solve problems. So as far as I'm concerned, anybody who can solve my problems, I don't mind whether he bears the toga of a Labour Party, PDP, APC, or whichever party at all. The central issue for me is, can you assist in solving these problems that I have before me?
The question now will be whether or not they'll be willing to be a part of that government if a hand of fellowship has been stretched to them. Let me go to Professor Tubanjo now, who joins us virtually. And I mean, your opening comments, Prof, still rings in my head. You call this an incredible mosaic of the very best men and women, a star-studded list, masterclass in cabinet crafting. And you said the president's knack for working with the best of talent shines through. And something that struck me was you said he combines compensatory interests with competence and futurologist, essentially an eye on election. I know a lot of people may cut that part out and play it over and over again and just try to think what's going through your mind. But let's be futuristic in this conversation. And I want to ask you, do you see a competent Minister of Works, for example, in that list? Do you see a competent Minister of Finance? Do you see a competent Minister of Power, a competent Minister of Agriculture? Because those are some of the major issues we face, and we need to hit the ground running, as they say.
Well, I'm not sure I got the end of your question. The sound is not doing too well with me here, but I understand that within this list, it is for those who think that there's something wrong with it to point out that Mr. A or Madam B is not competent. That's the basic point. What I see here, I find it very amazing. Last time I saw that was during the Babangida regime when technocrats were appointed to fill positions. Of course, but there were still soldiers who were there who were also included. But what you find here is that there's an attempt to balance, even where you are pandering to politics, there's an attempt to balance some quality, the quality of the people. You look at the governors, for example, that I have spoken against, they are still good governors. Banderu, Umahi, they were some of the best developmental governors that we had in this last dispensation. So you have to balance it. And of course, they work for the president. You know, if you look at the list, if I'm talking of, you look at Bella Age, Harvard-trained doctor. You have Anatu Musawa, a barrister from Cardiff, Aberdeen, oil and gas, and all that. You can only talk from what you see. There are people here who are a former Stella Otete is a former director of Nexi. There are people here. You can go on throughout this list and see people who have accomplished something. And our prayer is that they will bring that competence into accomplishing goodness for Nigeria. Nigerians need good governance now, more than ever before. We are trying to reform the economic system. It is at a very high cost to us. We are paying dearly for it. But we are ready to bear the sacrifice for it if there's the indication that we are going to get good governance. The cabinet is the first level indication, and it's a very good one, I dare say.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that in the coming days, particularly when, they begin work and, quite a Herculean task before them. Mr. Onyekpere touched on a very important point, just as he answered his last question when he said some lawmakers in that list planned to be lawmakers and hence they were not supposed to be there. I wonder how novel this is in our recent democratic history. When we recall that the immediate past speaker, as the 9th Assembly closed, also, resigned his position, though he had been re-elected. So what are the implications of this, perhaps, should in case it becomes a trend in the near future for a new administration to shop for its cabinet members from Parliament? Professor Tubanjo, that's for you. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. It happens everywhere. People who move from one position to the other. I know that in the United States, sometimes people move from Congress to be secretaries of commerce, of state, or whatever. I do not see that there's a problem, because what it does is it opens up avenues for somebody else to come in a by-election. And that person elected, selected by the president, must have been seen to have something to offer. First and foremost, somebody who understands the grassroots, because they had gone through the process of election, interacted with people, and know their needs. So that is an advantage of selecting somebody who already gone through the process of election. That's a lot of...
Prof, pardon me if I may come in there. Can we say that, these appointees, these nominees, didn't know that they were going to be nominated into the president's cabinet positions? And we can also say that the plan to filling their positions when they take up their appointments will come at a cost to taxpayers' money following by-elections.
I don't understand why that you consider that a problem. How can somebody know that you made a minister? The ministerial situation is a very complex, competitive situation. Until your name is announced, you are not sure. Even if they tell you that the president is looking your way, you cannot be sure that you get it. What we were taught in primary school is that a bird in hand is more than 10, 20 in the bush. So if somebody goes in and says, I want to be I want to be a parliamentarian, and goes through the process of that is his primary ambition. And then, of course, if he's considered to be a minister, but I quite honestly, if I want to be honest about it, that's not a swap that anybody should make. You have a tenure of 4 years as a legislator. The ministerial appointment has no tenure because the president can sack you at his pleasure. So I don't see why people should exchange their elective office for an executive office. But that is their choice. But that's not to say that they have done anything wrong.
Well, Prof, I'm just wondering how reminiscent this is of Section 8412 that caused not a little stir during the primaries in 2022. But let me come to you now, Mr. Onyekpere. It's as if we can't talk enough about, the need for the executive to attach portfolio to the ministerial nominees. If it's, throwing up this quantum of conversation here, I wonder why it wasn't much of a concern for members of parliament. The senators have been saying that they're going to give the nominees some rigorous screening. So what does it say about the character of this parliament if it's not a problem, if the Senate president is not saying, look, we send this back and insists that the executive attaches portfolios to it such that we can build something on something? Mr. Onyekpere, that's for you.
Well, if you recall, the Constitution did not make it mandatory that the president must attach the portfolios to each of the names. So what we have been arguing is that not everything must be written in law. Some things are commonsensical. Nobody taught me that if I make some amala or fufu, I should put it in my mouth. Why shouldn't I put it in my nose? There's no way it is written. But some of these things are commonsensical. But the National Assembly is dominated by the majority party where the president comes from, just like in the other dispensations. So you don't expect these politicians elected as senators or members of the House to begin to issue direct queries to the president in terms of saying, why didn't you do X or Y? But I think going forward, since there are still opportunities for constitutional amendment, that should be strictly put in as a requirement, because we don't even need that in the first place for us to do good if we are very conscious of the fact that we need to make the nation go forward. So in a sense, I know the legislators will have wanted that portfolio attached, but since the president didn't attach it, many of them cannot summon the courage to query the president to say, this is what you do. But if push comes to shove, the president can say, well, I'm not violating any law. The Constitution did not make it mandatory for me. So that is a critical challenge.
I know that the jury is still out there for some on the performance of previous ministers in the previous government, President Buhari's government. And I think it's important to maybe learn from some of the things we saw then. I know we had challenges with the Minister of Power, Minister of Agriculture, the President. Well, it was rare to see him do that, former president that is, but at least he sacked some ministers. Whether or not there's been an outcome of investigation or whatever it is they did wrong is another thing entirely. But Professor Otuba just said that they are good to go. For him, they are good to go. And I won't go over those words he used to describe this list again. But what do you see standing in the way of these ministerial nominees who eventually we expect will be ministers, barring any changes? What do you see standing in their way from the experience of the last administration?
Well, I see nothing standing in their way to be approved by the Senate. They are likely going to be
standing in their way to perform as ministers.
There's already
in whatever ministry they're in. Pardon me, I meant
the president and the National Assembly.
Pardon me, if you can hear me. What I meant was,
in essence, the major challenge that we have is being able to address the issues in the portfolios that they will be given. So, if you are made the Minister of Agriculture, Nigerians expect that you should improve food production. You should also collaborate with the security agencies to make sure that the farms are safe for the farmers to go. And the whole idea of value chain of agriculture is fully explored and exploited to put more food on the table, some for exports and some for raw materials for industries. So in every sector, the major issue will be how they work with other stakeholders to address specific challenges. Of course, you saw during the last days of the Buhari administration how a minister in charge of aviation just simply ignored every stakeholder and was doing his own thing until he had to leave there. And those issues and question marks that he left are still hanging. And whoever is coming in will have to address those challenges. You saw the person who eventually became the Minister of Education the last time, the kind of issues that he left. And it turned out to be that he didn't even understand the sector in the first place. He wasn't a professional in the sector. He was simply put there. Even when the sector was burning, he appeared to be less concerned. It was even the minister in charge of labor that was coming to dialogue with ASU and other persons. So, in essence, the real challenge they have are the sectoral challenges that will be assigned to them. It's not about screening. I don't see the current Senate telling any of them to say we will not approve you, they will be approved.
Yeah.
But it is when they get to work that we now know how competent they are.
Well, Mr. Ibrahim, so that's what I was trying to clarify. My question was not about what will stand in their way from being approved. It's what will stand in their way from performing in whatever ministry they are put in. But let me go to Professor Tumbaja, because he made that statement that they are good to go, even though he also identified some nominees who he described as loquacious and quite cantankerous. So, Prof, from experience, maybe from recent experience now of the Buhari administration, what are the major challenges ministers usually face, perhaps in their ministries, in terms of the red tapes and all of that, that we need to watch out for if we want to perform in this government?
Well, essentially, ministers, every minister faces the problem of budgetary limitations. No matter how much ideas you have to be tailored towards what is available for your government, for the ministry to spend. Ministers face the challenge of poor oversight. That is, if you have a president who is not a hard-working president, who is not interested in working, who doesn't read more than a paragraph or two a day, then you're going to have a problem of presenting your case properly. Of course, you have the challenge of the civil service that you are working with. You must carry them along. You must make sure that they are on the same table with you, that they key into the agenda, because your own agenda must be the agenda of the president. No minister has an autonomous agenda. You don't go to the ministry and say, I'm going to build a road from Guagalada to Lokoja. No, it's not your business. It is the president that tells you what I want to do with roads, what I want to do with water, and so on. And it's your own business to go and disaggregate that agenda into programs, policies, and programs. So you need a president that pays attention to ideas. You need a cabinet that is working together. You need proper funding. You need technocracy. The civil service in many countries runs the country. Quite honestly, ministers are surplus to requirements. You can run a country without ministers. But you need that political contact between the president and the ministry. So they are like ambassadors of the president in the ministry. They sit in their offices. Most of the work is done by the technocrats. And so the ministers can read the mind of the president because they have access to the president. Permanent secretaries, directors don't have the same access. So they need to make sure that their civil service is with them and work with the civil service. If you have a bad minister who is also not reading, who is not creative, who has no vision of what should happen, then you have a crisis. But of course, that's why you have performance evaluation in the Secretary to Government's office and the Chief of Staff. So there must be no shyness in removing such ministers. So it depends on the president. The president is key to the performance of the minister. The monitoring system of the presidency to see how ministers are performing. It's very important to the outcomes.
Prof, in this case, if you say ministers are surplus to requirement and, you can run without the ministers, I wonder how we can tie it to your earlier view that, the mulling of extra ministries and the increase to cost of governance should, we have a complete 42-man cabinet is not such a problem to cost of governance. But don't respond to that. Let me quickly come to Mr. Onyekpere. So much has been said about, the prowess of the president to assemble, a competent team from his time as Lagos State governor, but very little has been said, about what his style would be should we have erring ministers or ministers who are unable to deliver. I'd like you to speak to that. I don't know if we have experience. We can refer to experience from the last administration. Kadi was talking about some ministers who were sacked out and no reason was provided for that. But what can we expect, if that happens to be the case along the line, in this administration? Mr. Onyekpere, that's for you.
I expect Mr. President to appoint ministers with milestones and deliverables, the achievements that the government is expecting in each sector, and they should be time-bound. So if you are given an assignment and you're expected to deliver so much in year 1, year 2, year 3, if you are unable to deliver within the time frame, I expect there should be some review, there should be some course correction or calling to order. Or if there is a clear case of misapplication or misappropriation of resources or mismanagement of resources, I also expect the president to come intervene and maybe remove the person and forward his name to the authorities for investigation and prosecution. So if you judge from what has happened in the past, starting from Obasanjo's days, ministers are liable to be removed if they don't perform well and replaced with persons who the president thinks can deliver on the mandate. And also, it is important to put these issues more contextually. It's not strictly so much, yes, the president has made some promises to Nigerians through his manifesto that was done during the campaigns. There are also national policies in some of these critical areas, whether it's in education, whether it's in health. Unless you are changing those policies altogether, those national policies should also help, to drive the agenda of the ministers and the agenda of the president. So Nigerians will also be looking forward to, for instance, if it is health, what have we signed up to in the Sustainable Development Goals? If it is in water, whether it's in education, some of those clear benchmarks that have been existing beyond tenures of presidents. So these are the kind of things that Mr. President will use to assess the ministers. And Nigerians also, this is beyond the president, because the people that are serving should also be in a position to contribute to the process. If you have a minister that the president is so happy with, and then all Nigerians are saying, this man is not serving us well, then there is a challenge, a disconnect between what the president wants and what the people want. So I think the president should listen more to the streets, to the people, to find out whether the ministers are serving them well, and that should be the benchmark he will use to either say continue or please depart from my cabinet.
So you don't have, there's no problem with the intendment of the law requiring him to submit list of ministers within 60 days, is there?
No, there is nothing wrong with that. In fact, if I have my way, that ministerial list should come within 1 month. Because if we still have this system, like I pointed out, you were declared president-elect late February or 1st in March. You had March, you had April, you had May, up till 29th, in fact, the whole of May. So you had 3 months after being sworn in. I assume, after being declared president-elect, I assume that considering the grueling campaigns, you could take 1 week or 2, lock up yourself and sleep very well. When you wake up in the 3rd week, you start your consultations. That, in fact, there is nothing wrong by, after being sworn in and after the parties, you rest for a day or 2. The next day, you're on national television or you go to the Senate and hand over these papers because you've had 3 months to do consultation among your party members.
All right, gentlemen, we have to thank you for coming on. Eze Onyekwe is a lawyer and the lead director, Center for Social Justice. We've also had Professor Femi Otobanjo of International Politics and Strategic Studies, Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in a moment and talk about football. Yeah, the FIFA Women's World Cup. That will be after this break, so don't go away.
I keep drawing him. I think I'm desperate.
Is this dress even fine?
What if he doesn't like me?
He's here.
I'm his spec.
Joe? Same Joe.
Same Joe, minor differences. Same Joe, minor differences? Don't even think about judging Joe, because you're probably just like him. Why is the name on your business bank account Ahmed Aminu and not your business name? Same business, different name, right? Stop impersonating your business and get an account in your business name with MoneyPoint.
Whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker.
See trouble. Is this not the same name?
Open a bank account in your business name with MoneyPoint.
When you sweat, you lose ions too. Reach for Pocari Sweat, similar to your body fluid. It is easily absorbed and rehydrates you faster. Replenish your ions with Pocari Sweat Ion Supply Drink.
Heartburn and indigestion? Try Just Eat. My recommendation for the past 26 years, Just Eat. Reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
Like, I feel so great. I feel great. I feel happy. I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for my team of how far and what we've achieved so far.
When you got that goal, and you felt that, and we're afraid what was going to happen.
Like, it was crazy. Like, I was struggling to breathe. Like, I couldn't catch my breath, and they didn't know, my teammate didn't know what was happening to me. Like, they came jumping at me and all of that. It was when they realized, like, oh, they had to back up. But I'm happy I got the goal for my team. I'm happy I continued. I finished the game, so I'm cool.
Ready to give 100% effort, and I'm a team player. I don't care the minutes I play. I'm just always ready to go out and give my 100% effort, and also to help the team get the 3 points or whatever point we need.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had enough coming to the game, but so how are you feeling now?
I'm getting better. There was no point going 90 minutes if I can't give 100% effort. So if I have to play 20, 15, 10, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, it doesn't matter how many minutes I have to play. But whatever minutes I'm going to play, if I can give 100% effort, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, Step Out Football today, and Ida Peterside joins us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. You know, while talking about this list, and I thought, okay, so Ida Peterside, there's no Minister of Sports now, so I'm not sure anybody's in that camp meeting the Falcons right now to distract them. But you never know, let me not count those chicks, so it's maybe too early. But go ahead and talk to us about this, because, I mean, yes, it took a number of people by surprise, this particular victory. Pleasant surprise at that. Because many thought, okay, that draw was good enough, but there you go. Then you had a victory. So, of course, you equally be as happy as several other people. But give us your impression about that match and how you saw it.
I thought you were talking about the list and expecting my name on the list. We're all excited. We're all excited, and the beauty of the victory of yesterday is that it's been a long time, very long while, whether the female team or the male team, that Nigeria has been excited like this. We've always been used to this kind of joy and happiness, and it's we've not seen that for a long time. But yesterday was something unbelievable. You know, it reminded us of the 1994 Super Eagles. It reminded us of the years back where we used to get so excited about this game. And again, kudos to these girls. No one ever believed at the beginning of the game in the group where I was expecting that we would lose 4-0, 3-0. We're just praying that the results, the goals will be very few. You know, but they shocked us, absolutely shocked us. And there's been this buzz in the air. We have been so excited that hope has come back to Nigerian football.
So, from that first match where we're going to draw, comparing that performance with this last one, what improvements did you clearly see?
Well, I think we made a few changes. Ajibade coming into the team, and maybe they bring in Kanu into the team. These two changes really changed the team. For me, Ajibade was just unbelievable. She's the Daniel Omokachi, or the bull of the Falconet. She came in and held that middle. You know, we saw the game against
The first game against Canada, yes, we just defended and we could not move forward. But in this case, when Ajibade came in, look at her. Every time the ball is won, she moves with the ball to the opponent's half. You know, and you needed this carrier, we call them carriers in football, that can move the ball. That's the kind of role Ronald Messi plays, even though he scores, where you need a carrier that can take the ball from the central midfield and help the strikers, which he did yesterday. And it brought a lot of fear, you know, to the opponents.
You know, let me ask you this. I mean, I know coaches normally say, if you don't concede, you can't lose. So was it a deliberate strategy from your perspective? Did we actually set out to, okay, you know what, let's go ahead and defend and then build from the back? Or was it a reaction to us having that red card with our pocket rocket there who missed the match? So how did you see this, the tactics as it came through?
Well, firstly, kudos must go to the technical crew, because if you remember, in the last 7-8 games, we've lost. You know, we kept losing. We lost to Morocco. We lost to South Africa. You know, so we kept losing. I think something different was done in this team, especially the captain of the team was replaced, AB. You know, as she's 40 years, kudos to her that she could go to the World Cup, the 6th World Cup she's appearing in. But there was a tilting in that defense. You know, we kept conceding goals, and our goalkeeper, my goodness gracious, I think she can even play in the men's team. That's how good. I hear you. That's how good she is. So we set the defense proper. You know, look at the first game, like you mentioned. In the first game, Ajibade was on suspension, so we couldn't play her. Tactically, the coaches got it right. And when they did not play Oshola, you know, in our group we were discussing, was Oshola left out really because of her injury, or she was left out because she's becoming a burden, you know, because all eyes were on Oshola, and she wasn't given everything we needed. So her being put on the bench yesterday, there was no big man, if you will call it, in the team. Everyone wanted to play. And you could see when she came into the second half, this was Oshola we knew. She wanted to prove to herself that she wasn't finished. She wanted to prove herself that she could still lead the attack of Nigeria. So tactically, they got it right. Tactically, they got it right. The commitment, they got it right. We just think that they're heading towards the right side. Our problem, our biggest fear is pay the girls. We don't want to hear any story in the camp. Pay the girls.
Well, that's certainly a placard I'll be co-hosting alongside other Nigerians. I mean, that the girls need to be paid. I mean, the girls, their motivation needs to be sustained. But, you know, from what I see, I was just telling Chamberlain that, you know, much as I haven't exactly been watching the matches, but at least what I see on social media, you know, their verve, their enthusiasm, it cannot be faulted. You see them doing a lot of PR, dancing, keeping their spirits up in general. It would seem that they've been doing a fantastic work in that area and showing, advertising to the world what Nigeria is capable of. So let me ask you, I mean, talking about we saw a pretty decent scoreline. Australia wasn't just taking that line low. They eventually, you know, returned some consolatory goal towards the end of the match. So 3-2 was what the game was at the end of the day. What are your thoughts in terms of moving forward, our next opponent? Do you think that we will still be able to keep top of the table? Or do you have any fears as we move forward? Because sometimes we see this. We might not have done very well in our first match. We do really well in the second one. And somehow it would seem that we relax somewhat in the third.
Thank you. I'm surprised, Mark, why you were not watching, because we were looking for a sports minister. And we're thinking of recommending you. But any which way, it's going to be a very, very dicey game. They are playing against an island side that have lost 2 games. But again, look at the results. The 2 games the island lost. The first game they lost 1-0 2-1 to Canada. The second game they lost 1-0 to this same Australian team. So they are not a bad side. I watched a friendly game they played against France, and they beat France 2-1. But the thing is that what are they playing for? But they are not like a typical African side that will say we're out of the tournament and then we'll just go and lie down. It's going to be a very difficult game for Nigeria. But what we have going for us, remember we have +2 now, +1 goal aggregate, and Canada would have to cancel Australia. That's where we think we can survive it. We don't have to lose. Even if we lose, we don't have to lose 2-0. If we lose 1-0, we can still qualify, depending on what both sides play. But if they do play a draw, it becomes dicey. We expect Australia to come and win. Remember, they're playing at home and they've invested so much money, and they're not a bad side. So hopefully Australia wins and we qualify. I've been looking at the permutations to see if there's a 10th best team. I don't know that yet. So if we do qualify as the 10th best team in the tournament, we could still go through. We need to come and get a draw. No, come for the win. If we get a draw, hooray, then we're into the last 16.
How we approach this match? Should we play the best possible side, or let the other legs on the team come through, give us that grit and move forward? What would you advise?
No. We have to come and play. This is a tournament you've been preparing for a year. There are no less legs or less size. They have been in training. They have been in camp. The fitness level should be top peak. So there's no time to rest any player. You need 6 games. Every tournament you go to, you put it in your head, you need to play 6 games. And the 6 games takes you to the finals. So all these players are professionals now. They should be able to be ready to play 6 games. Remember, the next game should be on Monday, as opposed to Monday, 11 o'clock. So you have enough time. You have 4 days, 3 days to rest. And we hope that they will come out to play. All eyes will be on Nigeria. And secondly, the fans will be against Nigeria. No one will support Nigeria. Remember, we just beat their darling team, the Matildas. So all eyes will be on the island side to support them, so that Nigeria can be jittery for Australia to qualify. So they have to bring the best, and we hope that the best will do well enough to win.
And I think that this feeds right next to my question, because it's a big danger. Australia and New Zealand are co-hosting this tournament, and some people will say it's a big danger when, for Women's World Cup, when we've been trying to get eyeballs on it. Never mind that I didn't watch it yesterday. I was on the news. I was able to read the results on the news. But we're trying to get eyeballs, more people interested in women's football. Australia and New Zealand co-hosting this. And, you know, there are fears that, well, not at our own expense, we certainly want to be in the next round. But do you express any about, you know, the hosting teams falling out of this competition?
Well, you know, the good thing about World Cup tournaments is not just based on the games themselves. These tickets are so prior to the World Cup. Already, by estimation, they've already sold, I think, did they say 100, how many millions already? So basically, the tickets have been sold to the finals. So it really doesn't matter. You know, we were in Qatar, I was in Qatar, and Qatar was knocked out of the first round, but the stadiums were still packed. But the momentum is always good, because the city, the nation falls behind the tournament when the host is still active. So the prayer is that, okay, we want to see the host keep going, because the bars in the city is quite different, right, if they're not in the tournament. So we're crossing our fingers and saying, yes, I want Australia to qualify. And if Canada is knocked out, Nigeria steps in. And again, hopefully, if we do, just all we need to do is to push to win. Once we win, we qualify automatically, and hopefully Australia will be the runners-up in our group.
Yes, Mr. Peter said it's been interesting, you know, and, you know, quite heartwarming to watch the girls, even though I confess also I haven't been watching a lot of the games, but to see that the girls are motivated, particularly after this win in this game with Australia. one of the names, I'd like you to, just talk us through the names that can be commended, in the 2 games so far. I understand that the goalkeeper is one to watch out for. Chiamaka Nnadozie she saved another penalty, and also to relate it with the coach, how he has sustained an understanding of the placement of the players, for the game so far.
Well, we've had standout players in this in the tournament already. Like you just called Chiamaka, she's been the most outstanding of the players. She's as calm as a cucumber. We saw her yesterday, unbelievable calmness. With all the pressure, tension, she's been able to handle the team. Ohale too. Ohale, has come in again in the central defense. We saw her score a goal yesterday, even though she was kicked in the chest yesterday, but she's done so well. And yesterday we saw, I just mentioned her name now, coming to the midfield. We've had pockets of great players, as stand Ajibade, yes, Ajibade. We've had pockets of players stand out in this team. But collectively, that's a sign of a very good team. A sign of a very good team is when you pick out a player and say, this player has been so fantastic and the other players have been useless. That's the difference between this team. They've all been outstanding, from the goalkeeping department to the attackers. We've scored 3 goals in a World Cup. The last time we ever even scored goals in our last 2 World Cups, we hardly scored goals. We saw the pressure we faced at the WAFCON when the women played the WAFCON in Morocco. We had challenges of scoring goals. Now in 2 games, we've scored 3 goals. It does magic to the team that the team is scoring. Yes, we've considered 2 goals, but the 2 goals we've considered, it would have been worse. Okay, we have 4 points. In a World Cup, a point is like a diamond. Now we've seen them get 4. We've seen them get 4 points. Hopefully, we would get 7 points. Again, let's go back to the coaching. There's been, before the World Cup, there was this squabbles with the coaches, the NFF, and then complaining, the NFF calling the coach the worst coach that has ever coached the Super Falcons because of monetary issues. Again, when we started, I'd already mentioned pay the girls. We must get to the point where every kind of fracas is eliminated in the team. It has been the bane of Nigerian football that every time we go for tournaments like this, money issues will come out. I remember when Danagogo was Minister of Sports, the players were not paid, and the good luck Jonathan chartered a jet and sent money to Brazil for the team to be paid. The same thing almost showed up in this World Cup. Thank goodness, FIFA has come out and said every player participating in the World Cup will be paid $30,000. At least that cushions everything. And again, once they announced that, the NFF came out and said the money should be paid to them, NFF, for them to pay the players. And FIFA said, no, this will not happen. We will pay directly to the players. But they've been away from their families. Yeah. They've been in camp for months. They must be compensated. Thank goodness the First Lady has come out to say she's supporting the team. I saw a video of her yesterday, jumping and dancing. I heard she spoke to the girls before they came for the game. The interest has intensified. And once it is intensified, then it's better for the team because all eyes will be on the team.
You know what they say, success has many friends. Failure is an orphan. I mean, everybody wants to be associated with a success, or at least a successful person. I understand even the president had put out a statement before the match wishing them the very best. So we look forward to this translating to sustainability for our sport. But I know that you vied for NFF top job at some point, and I imagine you had some ideas in terms of resolving this perennial issue of funds not being paid and all of that. I mean, I don't think FIFA would always step into our issues. Sometimes, of course, if you don't get to that level, you will not have FIFA stepping in. So what exactly is and I want us to maybe round off on this very important point. We celebrate the girls, absolutely. But what is one thing that is important, that is responsible for that challenge? NFF said that, well, they have meager resources and Coach Waldrum allegedly wants them to waste that on him. There's been a lot of messy back and forth. But what is really responsible for this? For as long as I've lived, these issues have been there.
Well, it will always be there. You need somebody with guts to take decisions. We are talking about carrying overload. Already, as I speak to you, you have close to 14 to 15 board members already there at the World Cup. What are they doing there? All of them are there. They all be paid. You know, every appearance, I do know that every board member gets close to $3,000 just for being there. Doing what? Doing absolutely nothing. And they're complaining about funds. You have to manage. You have to manage the system. Everything starts and ends with leadership. Again, monies have been expanded. Okay, FIFA gave Nigeria $978,000 to run this World Cup. So what are you doing with it? Why carry a luggage of people? You pay for the media, you pay for board members. Like I said, close to 15 board members are there. You pay for hotel rooms for them. You pay business class tickets for them. What are they doing there? You know, you don't need them. There are people that are specifics that should be there. That has been the issue, the ability to manage what we have. And that's what we're complaining about. Even in Nigeria, you hear the kind of entourage that travel with these people. We need to get people that are professional enough to manage what is professional. And once we get that going, all these little lapses will not be there. I think that's my opinion. You don't carry everybody to New Zealand because they voted for you.
Oh dear, very important point you raised there. But just on a final note, Mr. Peterside, the ministerial list, we need to talk about it. I mean,
yes.
Do you see any Minister of Sports in that first batch already, or you just wait for the second batch?
I want to be careful what I say. My governor, former Governor Wike, it's a pillar of sports. Maybe that might not fit him, but you know, it's a massive pillar of sports. What he has done in Rivers State concerning sports is out of this world. For me, my private prayer is make Wike the Minister of Sports, but that might be a little bit lower ministry for him. I don't know. I've looked at the list. In and out, but I hear there are still more names coming out. But Wike is a pillar of sports. He loves sports. He's done so much for sports in Port Harcourt. I am aware of that. You know, build academies and taking care of the state teams. You know, one of the teams that have not been owed ever in Rivers State League, in Nigeria League, is the Rivers United team. So I've seen him do so much for sport, but well, that's not my position. I hope I'm not saying I'm giving him a lesser position.
Well, it'll be very interesting because, it'll be nice to see ex-internationals in different sports across the board also get involved in the administration of the game. Nwankwo Kanu, we know he's now doing something for Abia State in Enyimba. Finidi George, we also saw his involvement. Daniel Mokuchi also been there. So several people should also come back to the game. Maybe yourself in Rivers, who knows? So we'd like to see sports across board also get their own improvement and contribution. We'd like to thank you, Ida Peterside, for your perspective here today.
Well, justice for other sports, you know, football.
Yeah, that's what I said. For all the sports, across the board. All sports are
justice for other sports. You know, football in Nigeria is all the sports we know. But hey, what do I know?
Well, look at comments coming through now. Kingsley says, kudos to the Super Falcons. They are the pride of Africa. They've won more laurels than their male counterpart, but are less motivated. Our football administrators should do better by ensuring their bonuses are paid as and when due.
Indeed. Pay the girls. Pay our ladies. I'm carrying a placard up. Henry Awunono is talking about ministerial nominees. He says the nominees are eminently qualified as expected from the president, who's known as Fisher of Men. The only gap in governance has always been the absence of voices for performance and accountability from the people, especially the media and the CSOs. Let the Senate screen them expeditiously, but the National Assembly, media, CSOs, including religious institutions, start calling them to account and holding them responsible for delivering on the jobs using objective performance indicators with timelines. Congratulations to them, he says.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That is the show today. We do thank you all for watching and letting us be a part of your day, your week. We appreciate that. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain, so have a very good Friday.
Well, I'll see you later tonight on Hard Copy. Thank you for watching this morning. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Yes, Adedeji, we see your mail. Thank you, and keep them coming. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week. I am Bukola Koka.
I'm Kyle Kikilu. Goodbye.
Hi,